When we talk about intimacy, a lot of people only think about the physical side of it. They reduce it to a moment, to an act, to something surface level. But if you really want to understand how a woman feels, if you really want to connect with her in a way that goes beyond just the physical, you have to recognize that trust and emotional safety are everything. For a woman, the body and the heart are not separate things. They are linked. The deeper the trust she feels with you, the deeper the connection becomes, and the more meaningful the experience is for both of you. Without that foundation of safety, what could have been beautiful, powerful, and memorable often turns into something that feels empty, confusing, or even hurtful. That's why if you want to be the kind of man who inspires loyalty, love, and respect, you must learn to make her feel secure in your presence. Emotional safety doesn't come from big words alone. It comes from consistency, from your actions aligning with your promises. A woman can sense whether you are reliable, whether you truly mean what you say. When she feels that you are grounded, steady, and dependable, she relaxes. She lets go of the guard she may have built from past experiences. That's when intimacy stops being just an act and starts becoming an experience of surrender, trust, and deep emotional bonding. Imagine how powerful that is. She is choosing to let you in not just physically, but emotionally. That is a sacred thing, and when you honor it, you build a connection that no outside force can easily break. But here's the truth. Many men underestimate just how much little things matter. It's not about grand gestures all the time. Sometimes it's in the way you listen when she talks, the way you remember the small details of what she shares, the way you stand by her when she is feeling weak or unsure. Those are the things that build trust. Those are the bricks that form the foundation of safety in a relationship. And when she knows she can lean on you, when she knows you won't disappear at the first sign of difficulty, she feels emotionally free. She feels like she can give more of herself to you without fear of judgment or abandonment. Think about it this way. Every woman carries her past with her, past heartbreaks, past disappointments, past moments when she gave her heart only to have it broken. When she meets you, she doesn't just see you. She also feels the weight of those past experiences. That's why it's so important for you to show her through your behavior that you are not like those who failed her. You're not here to use her. You're not here to take advantage. You're here to build something real. That reassurance doesn't come from repeating, "Trust me." It comes from being trustworthy day in and day out. Your consistency is what quiets the fears in her heart and makes her feel safe enough to open up fully. Safety also means acceptance. Every human being has flaws, insecurities, and imperfections. A woman feels safe when she knows she doesn't have to hide those from you. She feels at ease when she can laugh at her mistakes, cry when she's overwhelmed, or share her deepest fears without worrying you'll see her as less. That's when intimacy grows strong, because she realizes she is loved not just for her beauty, not just for the good moments, but for her authentic self. And when she feels accepted, she naturally gives more love, more devotion, and more of her true self back to you. Now, let's go even deeper. Trust isn't just about how you treat her, it's also about how you treat yourself. A man who is careless with his own life, who breaks his own promises, who doesn't respect his own values, cannot create safety for someone else. Women are incredibly intuitive. She can feel whether you are disciplined, whether you keep your word, whether you live with integrity. When you do, it reassures her that she can depend on you. When you don't, it triggers uncertainty. So if you want to give a woman that feeling of safety, start with yourself. Build your own foundation, keep your word to yourself, build discipline, self-respect, and purpose in your life. Because a man who is strong within himself naturally creates security around him. He becomes the kind of man a woman can trust not just with her body, but with her soul. Here's another layer most men miss. Emotional safety is also about presence, being there fully. Too many men are distracted physically there, but mentally checked out, thinking about work, scrolling on their phone, or stuck in their own head. But when you're with her, if you can truly be present, giving her your full attention, it tells her she matters. It tells her that in this moment, she is the priority. That presence alone can melt walls she didn't even know she had, because it communicates something powerful. You are safe with me. I'm not going anywhere. I'm here with you fully. And that presence is something she will always remember. There's also the element of consistency in emotions. If you're hot and cold, one moment warm, the next distant, you create instability. Instability breeds insecurity. But if you're steady, if your affection doesn't vanish when things get hard, she feels grounded with you. She knows she doesn't have to guess whether you'll care tomorrow, because you've shown her you are reliable. That kind of steadiness is rare in a world where so many people give up at the first inconvenience. And because it's rare, it's deeply attractive and comforting. So ask yourself, when she's with me, does she feel safe? Does she feel accepted? Does she feel valued not just for what she gives, but for who she is? Because if the answer is yes, then you are not just another man in her life. You are the man she feels connected to on a deeper level than words can describe. And that's when intimacy transforms from something physical into something emotional, spiritual, even life-changing. When you give a woman safety, you are not just building trust with her. You are also building trust in yourself. You are stepping into the role of a man who leads with love, who inspires confidence, who doesn't just take but also gives. That's the kind of man who doesn't chase relationships, he attracts them. That's the kind of man who doesn't fear losing someone, because he knows that the depth of what he builds cannot easily be replaced. And when you reach that point, when you are able to create a bond rooted in trust and emotional safety, you will see that the connection is stronger than anything temporary. It becomes something lasting, something unshakable, something that both of you will cherish for years to come. So remember, this trust is not built overnight, but every moment you choose to be present, consistent, and genuine, you are building safety. And when she feels safe, she feels free to give you her heart. Vulnerability is one of the most misunderstood yet powerful elements of intimacy. Most people associate strength with control, with keeping emotions hidden, with building walls so no one can hurt you. But in reality, true strength shows up in the ability to be open, to be real, and to let someone see the parts of you that you usually hide from the world. For a woman, vulnerability is not a weakness she looks down on. It's a doorway into deeper connection. When you as a man are willing to share what's in your heart, when you allow her to see your fears, your dreams, your struggles, and not just the polished version of yourself, you create a bond that feels real and unshakable, and in return, she feels safe enough to open up her own heart to you. Think about it. How many people in today's world are living behind masks? How many are pretending to be fine while silently battling loneliness, doubt, or pain? We live in a culture that often rewards surface-level images but neglects authenticity. That's why vulnerability is so rare and so powerful. Because when you show it, when you are brave enough to say, "This is who I am, flaws and all," you stand out. You give her permission to let go of her own mask, and that moment of mutual openness is where real intimacy begins. It's no longer about appearances, it's about truth, and the truth is where love grows. Now, many men struggle with vulnerability because they've been taught that emotions make them weak. They've been told to man up, to push down their feelings, to never show fear. But what women respond to is not a man who hides his heart, but a man who is honest about it. Vulnerability is not about oversharing or breaking down without control. It's about having the courage to be real. It's the difference between saying, "I've got everything figured out," and being strong enough to admit, "I don't have all the answers, but I'm willing to grow, and I want you by my side as I do." That kind of honesty creates trust. It lets her know you're not playing a role, you're not putting on a show, you're showing up as your authentic self. And here's the beauty of it: vulnerability creates space for her to nurture you too. Often, men think they always have to be the rock, the protector, the one who carries all the weight. While strength is important, constantly pretending you're unshakable can actually push her away. Because if you never let her in, if you never let her see your humanity, she begins to feel like she doesn't truly know you. But when you open up, when you say, "I'm struggling with this," or "sometimes I feel unsure," you give her the chance to support you, to stand by you, to feel like she's contributing to your growth. That makes her feel valued and important in the relationship. And ironically, instead of seeing you as weak, she sees you as stronger than ever, because it takes true courage to drop the mask. Let's go deeper. Vulnerability is also about expressing love without fear. Many people hold back their feelings because they don't want to seem too eager, too emotional, or too invested. They think keeping a wall will protect them from rejection, but what actually happens is that the relationship never reaches its full potential. A woman feels cherished when you tell her how much she means to you, when you look her in the eye and let her know the impact she has on your life. Yes, it's risky to put your heart out there. Yes, there's always the possibility it won't be reciprocated the way you hope. But that risk is what makes the connection meaningful. Vulnerability says, "I'm willing to give you my truth, even though it scares me." And when you do that, you ignite something inside her because she realizes you are not holding back. You are giving her your whole self, and that's what inspires her to give you her whole self in return. Of course, vulnerability doesn't mean spilling every detail of your life all at once. It's a process. It grows as trust builds. It's about letting her see more of you over time, peeling back the layers in a way that strengthens the bond. At the beginning, it might be small things, sharing your genuine opinions, telling her about your day, admitting when something bothered you. Later, it might mean opening up about your past, your fears for the future, or the moments when you didn't feel strong. Each step of vulnerability deepens the relationship, and what's important is that it goes both ways. When you show vulnerability, you create an environment where she feels comfortable doing the same. Suddenly, both of you are not just lovers, but teammates in life, sharing everything openly, without fear of being judged. Another aspect of vulnerability that men often overlook is listening. Sometimes vulnerability is not about talking, but about being present enough to really hear her. To listen without trying to fix everything, without trying to control the outcome, but simply to be there and hold space for her emotions. That's a form of vulnerability, too. It says, "I'm strong enough to sit here with your feelings, even when they're heavy." And that's one of the most powerful ways to deepen emotional intimacy, because when she knows you're not afraid of her emotions, she feels safe showing them. She feels like she can be her full self around you, and that's when trust flourishes. Vulnerability also connects to forgiveness. Everyone makes mistakes. Everyone says or does things they wish they hadn't. The difference between a relationship that crumbles and one that grows stronger lies in the ability to own your mistakes and be humble enough to say, "I was wrong, and I'm sorry." Many men think apologizing makes them weak, but in reality, it makes them more respected, because it shows integrity. It shows that you care more about the relationship than about your ego. And when she sees you can own up to your shortcomings, it inspires her to do the same. That creates a cycle of growth instead of blame, A cycle where both of you become better not just for yourselves, but for each other. There's also a spiritual side to vulnerability. When you open up, when you lay your heart bare, you're not just letting her in. You're also letting yourself grow. Because vulnerability forces you to confront your own fears. It forces you to admit what you've been hiding, even from yourself. And in doing so, you become more self-aware, more grounded, more in tune with who you really are. That kind of self-honesty is magnetic. It draws her closer because she sees a man who is not afraid of growth, a man who has the courage to evolve. And when two people come together with that mindset, the relationship becomes a journey of transformation, not just companionship. At the end of the day, vulnerability is what turns closeness into connection, what turns love into devotion, and what turns two people into one team. Without it, relationships stay on the surface. With it, they become unbreakable. When you dare to be vulnerable, you are not losing power, you are gaining it. Because you're creating a bond that is built on truth, not illusion. And that kind of bond is the foundation of lasting love. So remember, real intimacy is not about being perfect. It's about being real. What many people don't realize is that the experience of intimacy for a woman is not defined only by what happens in the moment, but by how she feels afterward. The aftermath carries more weight than the act itself. A woman remembers not just the closeness, but the way she was treated, the way she felt, the emotional echo that lingers long after the lights are off. This is where a man either strengthens her trust and love, or creates a gap that slowly grows into distance. If you truly want to understand how to connect with a woman on the deepest level, you must pay attention to the emotional aftermath, because that's what stays with her heart. When the act is over, her mind is more open, her emotions are heightened, and she is at her most vulnerable. She may not say it, but in those moments she is silently asking herself questions. Does he care about me beyond this? Am I more than just a temporary thrill to him? Is he here because of who I am or just because of what he wanted? These unspoken questions are what define her experience, and your behavior in the moments after gives her the answers she will carry with her. If she feels loved, cared for, and valued, she will connect more deeply to you. If she feels ignored, dismissed, or used, she will carry that wound, and it will color the way she sees the relationship. That's why aftercare is so important. Simple things, small gestures can change everything. Holding her close, speaking gently, listening to her, or even just being present in silence shows her that you are still there with her emotionally. It reassures her that what just happened wasn't meaningless. It makes her feel safe, it makes her feel chosen, and it makes her feel like she matters beyond the moment. And when a woman feels this kind of emotional safety after intimacy, her bond with you grows stronger, her trust deepens, and her love becomes more secure. On the other hand, neglecting the emotional aftermath can do more damage than most men realize. If you turn cold, distant, or distracted right after, she interprets that as rejection. She may not say it out loud, but she feels it. It makes her wonder if she gave too much, if she misread your intentions, or if she means less to you than she thought. That kind of uncertainty eats away at trust. Over time, it builds walls where there should be bridges. And once those walls are up, it becomes harder to create real connection again. Men sometimes underestimate the importance of this because they process intimacy differently. For many men, the experience feels complete in the act itself, but for women, it lingers in the emotions that follow. What she feels afterward determines whether it becomes a memory she cherishes or a moment she regrets. That's why the most powerful thing you can do is extend your attention beyond the act. Show her through your words, your presence, and your touch that she is more than just a body to you. She is a person you value, a soul you respect, and a partner you want to build something real with. Think of it as planting seeds. Every time you care for the emotional aftermath, you plant seeds of trust, love, and security in her heart. Those seeds grow into devotion and loyalty, but every time you neglect it, you plant seeds of doubt, fear, and resentment. Those seeds grow too, and once they do, they are hard to remove. So the question becomes, what kind of garden are you cultivating in her heart? One of trust and love, or one of uncertainty and pain? It's not about grand gestures. It doesn't require poetry, fancy gifts, or dramatic actions. Often it's in the simplest things, looking into her eyes and telling her she matters, holding her hand, staying close instead of pulling away, listening to her breathe and letting her know you're still there. Those small actions carry massive weight because they speak to her heart. They tell her she is safe, she is valued, and she is not alone. Another key aspect of the emotional aftermath is communication. Women want to feel understood. Taking the time to ask her how she feels, to listen without rushing, and to actually hear her heart can transform the relationship. You don't need to have all the answers or solutions. Sometimes it's enough to be there and show that her feelings are important to you. That alone can make her feel more connected and more secure with you than anything else. It's also worth remembering that every woman has her own story, her own history. Some may carry scars from the past relationships where they were abandoned, ignored, or used. When you are attentive to the emotional aftermath, you are helping to heal those wounds. You are showing her that not every man is the same, that she can trust again, that she can give her heart without fear of it being broken. That kind of healing is powerful, and when you are the one to provide it, she will never forget it. Consistency in this area is vital. If you are attentive sometimes but dismissive at other times, she won't feel safe. She will feel like she can't predict what she'll get from you, and unpredictability breeds insecurity. But when you consistently show up in the aftermath with care and attention, she learns that she can count on you. And once she feels she can count on you, her love grows deeper, her respect grows stronger, and her devotion becomes unshakable. The emotional aftermath also sets the tone for the future. When she feels cared for afterward, she looks forward to being close with you again. She associates intimacy with love, with comfort, with joy. But if she feels neglected afterward, she may begin to withdraw. She may start associating intimacy with pain, with doubt, with regret. That is why this one area can either build your relationship up or quietly tear it down. Ultimately, what a woman wants is to feel that she is not just an option, but a priority. She wants to feel that the connection you share is more than physical, that it carries meaning, depth, and love. And the way you treat her in the aftermath tells her whether she is a treasure in your life or just a passing moment. When she feels like a treasure, she gives you her loyalty, her respect, and her full heart. When she feels like a passing moment, she slowly starts to protect herself from you, and the bond fades. So the truth is simple. What happens after matters more than what happens during. The love, the safety, the reassurance you give afterward is what stays with her. It is what she remembers, what she carries into the next day, and what defines how she feels about you. If you want a woman to stay, to love you deeply, to give you all of herself, don't just focus on the act. Focus on the aftermath. That is where her heart decides whether to trust you or guard itself from you. And in the end, the greatest gift you can give a woman is not just your passion, but your presence. What defines the depth of intimacy is not just the act itself, but how a woman feels when everything is over, when the moment has passed and she is left with her thoughts, her emotions, and the echo of what just happened. For her, the emotional aftermath is often more important than the physical act, because it is in those quiet moments afterward that she interprets the meaning behind the experience. It is then that she decides whether it was something special or something empty, whether she felt valued or whether she felt used. A man who understands this truth doesn't just think about what happens during intimacy, he pays careful attention to what happens after. That is the real test of how much he values her, because words and actions in the aftermath speak louder than anything that happened before. A woman becomes her most vulnerable after intimacy. Her heart is open, her emotions heightened, and in that vulnerability she is silently looking for reassurance. She wants to know, even without asking, that she matters beyond the physical. She wants to feel cherished, safe, and secure in the knowledge that she is not just being held in body, but in soul. And the way you treat her in those moments tells her everything she needs to know. If you pull away, if you grow distant, if you act distracted, she feels it deeply. She may not say it, but inside she wonders if she gave too much, if she misread your intentions, or if you were only there for yourself. That silent doubt lingers long after the moment ends, and over time it builds walls in her heart. But if instead you stay close, if you hold her, if you show warmth and affection, she feels seen, valued, and chosen. It doesn't take grand gestures. Sometimes it's the smallest actions, a kiss on the forehead, a whisper in her ear, your hand resting gently on hers, that communicate the loudest message: you are not alone, I'm still here with you. That reassurance is what allows her to fully relax, to trust, and to deepen her connection with you. It's not about perfection, it's about presence. When she feels your presence after intimacy, she interprets the whole experience as meaningful. She ties it to love, to safety, to belonging. Many men overlook this because they think intimacy ends with satisfaction. They don't realize that for a woman, intimacy is not a single point in time, but a wave of emotions that continues long after. What she feels in the aftermath is what defines the memory. If you want to leave her with a memory that makes her want to stay close to you, it's not about how much you gave during, it's about how much you gave after. That is what separates a moment she forgets from a moment she cherishes. Women also carry the weight of their past experiences. If she has been with men who treated her like she didn't matter once the act was over, her heart remembers that pain. When you ignore her in the aftermath, you are reinforcing those same wounds. But when you show care, you help to heal them. You show her that not every man leaves her feeling empty, that not every man disappears emotionally after getting what he wants. That healing is powerful because it builds trust, and trust is what makes her want to give more of herself to you, not just physically but emotionally and spiritually. The aftermath is also where she looks for consistency. If you are attentive sometimes and distant other times, she begins to feel unsafe. She cannot predict how you will treat her, and that uncertainty builds insecurity. But when you are consistently present, consistently affectionate, consistently reassuring, she feels secure. She knows she can count on you not just in the moment, but in the moments after, and that consistency deepens her love and respect for you. Communication plays a big role here as well. Many men think silence is enough, but words matter. Telling her she's beautiful, telling her how much she means to you, or simply letting her know you're grateful for her presence can change everything. Women remember those words. They replay them in their minds, and those words become a source of comfort long after the moment has passed. You don't need to deliver a speech. You just need to speak from the heart. Genuine words carry a power that lasts far beyond the night. Listening is another part of the aftermath that men often overlook. Sometimes she may want to share how she feels, talk about her day, or simply express her emotions in that moment. Being there to listen without judgment, without rushing, without trying to fix everything shows her that you care about her inner world, not just her outer self. That willingness to listen makes her feel valued as a person, not just desired as a partner. Even silence, when done with presence, can be powerful. You don't always need to speak. Sometimes simply holding her, breathing with her, letting her know you're still there is enough. That quiet presence communicates more than words ever could. It says, "I'm not leaving, I'm with you." And that message is what she will carry in her heart. The aftermath sets the tone for the future. If she feels loved and cared for, she associates intimacy with comfort, with joy, with connection. She looks forward to it, she desires it, because it brings her closer to you. But if she feels neglected or dismissed, she begins to withdraw. She may still be present physically, but emotionally, she starts to guard herself. That's why the way you treat her after is not just about that moment. It's about the health of the relationship as a whole. It is often said that women remember how you made them feel, not just what you did. That is especially true in the aftermath of intimacy. She will remember the tenderness, the care, the affection, and she will treasure those moments. Or she will remember the coldness, the distance, the lack of attention, and she will protect herself from being hurt again. The choice is always in your hands. So if you want to build a relationship that lasts, don't just focus on the act itself. Focus on what comes after, make those moments count, be present, be affectionate, be attentive. Show her that she matters beyond the physical, that she is more than just a body to you, that she is someone you value with your whole heart. Because, in the end, the emotional aftermath is what defines intimacy for her, and it is what determines the strength of the bond between you. And when you give her that safety, that care, that reassurance, you are not just giving her comfort, you are building a love she will never want to let go of. True intimacy is never meant to be something that lives only in a single moment. The physical act may last minutes, but the meaning of it, the energy of it, the emotional weight of it should extend far beyond that time. For a woman, what makes intimacy fulfilling is not just what happens in that space, but how it connects to the rest of the relationship. If it begins and ends in isolation, it feels shallow. But if it becomes a bridge that carries into everyday life, into conversations, into growth, into partnership, then it transforms into something powerful and lasting. That's what connection beyond the moment really means, turning closeness into continuity, turning passion into partnership, turning one instant into a thread that ties two people closer together over time. A woman doesn't want intimacy to be something temporary, something fleeting. She wants it to mean something. She wants it to feel like part of a larger story, not just a chapter that can be closed and forgotten. And the way you create that is by showing her through your actions and your consistency that the connection you share is not confined to a moment, but woven into the fabric of the relationship itself. When you do this, you give her something greater than passion. You give her purpose within the love you share. Think about how easy it is for many people to reduce relationships to cycles of highs and lows. They enjoy the high of passion, then drift apart in the quiet times, then try to recapture the spark again. But real connection doesn't have to be a cycle of intensity followed by emptiness. Real connection carries through even when things are calm. It becomes part of the way you talk to each other, the way you support each other, the way you share silence without needing to fill it. That's when intimacy is no longer just physical, but emotional and spiritual. For a woman, this continuity is what makes her feel secure. She wants to know that when you are close with her, it isn't just an act of desire, but an expression of love, respect, and commitment. She wants to know that what happens in the most vulnerable space between you continues afterward, that you treat her with the same tenderness when you're out in the world, when you're sitting at the table, when you're going through life's ordinary moments. That is what makes her feel truly cherished, seeing that intimacy doesn't end when the moment does, but continues in the way you live, love, and show up for her. When you carry the connection beyond the moment, you also show her that she is a part of your long-term vision. She is not just there to fill a void in the present. She is part of your growth, your journey, your future. Women want to feel included in something larger than themselves, something that has direction and purpose. When she senses that the intimacy you share is tied to a bigger story, that it is connected to who you are becoming and what you are building together, her heart aligns more deeply with yours. She no longer sees intimacy as separate from life. She sees it as an extension of love that feeds into everything you do together. This is also where leadership and intentionality matter. A man who lives with purpose, who knows what he is building, naturally carries intimacy beyond the moment because everything he does is infused with meaning. When you take that energy and bring it into your relationship, you make her feel like she is not just your partner in passion, but your partner in life. She feels secure. She feels chosen. She feels like she belongs not just in your bed, but in your world. And that sense of belonging is what women crave deeply, because it speaks to emotional security, not just physical closeness. One of the strongest ways to carry connection beyond the moment is through your actions in the everyday. Do you continue to show affection when nothing is happening? Do you reach for her hand in public? Do you speak kindly to her when she least expects it? Do you remind her she matters when life feels heavy? These simple things prove that the love between you is not confined to moments of intensity, but lives in the ordinary too. And when love is present in both the extraordinary and the ordinary, it becomes lasting. Communication is another way to extend the connection. Sharing your thoughts, your fears, your dreams, your gratitude, all of these keep intimacy alive beyond the physical. When you tell her what she means to you in words, when you share openly about your journey, when you include her in your inner world, she feels that connection all the time, not just during passion. Intimacy then becomes something emotional that you carry daily, like a thread of closeness that never breaks. There's also something powerful about creating shared rituals. Whether it's a daily check-in, a weekly tradition, or a quiet moment of reflection together, these rituals extend the feeling of closeness. They act as reminders that your relationship is more than fleeting moments. It's a partnership built on consistent love. Women feel deeply reassured by these rituals because they show reliability, care, and devotion. They remind her that intimacy is not random, it's intentional. Of course, carrying the connection beyond the moment also requires presence. Too many people live distracted, always caught in their phones, their stress, or their routines. But presence, real attention, is what makes her feel like she still matters after the moment has passed. When you look at her with the same focus you had in the most intimate moment, when you listen to her with the same intensity, she knows your love is real. That presence is the thread that ties the physical to the emotional and the emotional to the spiritual. And this is where intimacy transforms from something temporary into something eternal. When you live in a way that keeps the connection alive at all times, you make her feel that she is loved in her fullness, not just in her body. You show her that she is your partner in every way, that her heart, her soul, her mind, and her spirit all matter to you. That's when intimacy becomes more than closeness. It becomes unity. The truth is, anyone can share a moment. But not everyone can extend that moment into a connection that lasts. That's what separates relationships that fade from those that flourish. The act itself may fade from memory, but the feeling of love that continues, the presence that endures, the affection that repeats again and again, those are what make a woman stay, what make her give her loyalty, her devotion, her whole self. So if you want to build something lasting, don't just think about the moment. Think about what comes after, what comes tomorrow, what comes in the quiet times when nothing is happening. That's where the real bond is built. That's where she decides if this is love she can trust, love she can invest in, love she can give her all to. Because, in the end, intimacy is not about a single night or a single act. It's about the story you write together, the connection you keep alive every day, the love that doesn't stop when the moment does. And that is how you create a relationship she will never want to let go of.